Yeah, that's what I was reading.
Call meeting order 5:06 PM. Select board introductions, please.
Scott Morley, Select Board.
Carrie Keeman, Select Board.
Dan Webster, Select Board.
Inform your town administrator.
Interceded Constable. Doreen Hill, resident.
All right, we have Dan Rondo with us, David Barlow, Deb Tangway, and Melanie Rodzinski online. All right, changes or additions to the agenda. And any public comment?
I do, I did put in for a voucher for the, roll off, cause I had the fire and waiting to hear back on that.
So that's a town foundation issue.
Yes, yes, it is.
We just reviewed that last night, Doreen.
Okay.
And we'll be back in contact with you in regards to that.
Okay. I'm really not sure quite yet if I'm gonna get a roll off or take all the steel that I can and get as much money out of it, and then the garbage that really needs to go to the dump, load it up and take it, and then like the building material, push it off and burn it. So other than that, waiting to see what the spring.
Yeah, we'll be back in contact with you.
Sure. And also on a different note, my brother almost got hit by snowmobilers. I did call Billy because I tried reaching out to Scott Morley and no call back. And so I got a hold of Billy. After I talked to you, he called me back. They put signs up, but this was 2 days ago. They're flying up and down. Then the groomer took all that snow that came up from Orleans and put it in our road. The UPS driver had to back up to drop off a package for me. Blanchard's, my next door neighbor, they had to back up to get down into John's to bring propane. I'm about ready to take my plow truck and give them back their snow. I'm tired of it. And there's no reason for them to fly up through there. They can go out around. They want to fly, let them fly in the field. Not when there's traffic coming in and out. And I don't, yes, they're out having fun. But you know what? There is a house there. Well, we're close to the road. Doesn't matter. I'm a resident and this has been going on for years. I've talked to you, Scott Morley, many times about it.
Yeah, I know, and we don't agree. I'm not gonna change my opinion. I've stated my opinion and that's my opinion. But I understand your concerns. I get it.
They can go in Dan's field.
Well, that's a bigger process and, you know.
You can go right from where they come out of the woods in that ditch, come up. That way they can slow down, not up the road.
Did you and I talk about this 2 weeks ago in this building?
Yeah, and you know what?
What?
When there's a problem, you don't pick up your phone. And I'm trying to be very nice about this snowmobile trail.
Well, Dan, did you talk with us? And did you too? So in my absence, you picked up the phone and you two communicated?
We talked about, I was gonna get some signs and
And then Billy brought up signs. He did.
Okay.
And there's, just as they come up, right by John's driveway, there is a slow sign and a little green turtle, whatever, when there's children around. There and at the other end where they come up.
Right.
Slow sign and then that little green, and they don't. We had to pull over the other day because they were flying up the middle of Five Pines. Shouldn't have to. That's our road. When the town starts taking very good care of that road, then they can say whatever, but no. We are the ones plowing that dooryard and that road.
Okay, what else you got?
Nothing, Scott.
Okay, next issue.
All right. You have January and December from Dave for treasurer's report. Hello, Dave.
Man, coming up fast on me there, Ed.
Okay, it's light and you're the star.
Okay.
4 pages each.
Just refreshing my memory on what happened in December. Anyway, lots of money moving in December. So I invite your attention to the first page of the December Treasurer's Report. December 2025 seems like a lifetime ago now. Okay. This was the month where we had lots of money going out the door. All of the appropriations went out. We paid out a lot in reimbursable grant money that came back, and you'll see that in January. So a fair amount of activity in the general fund, a little bit normal in the highway fund. Nothing unexpected. I think kind of a interesting point, maybe a little bit arcane, but it's interesting to point out that if you look at the fund balances for the general fund and highway fund on the December 2025 Treasurer's Report, and yours are probably in black and white, but the general fund number is $369,170.78, and the highway fund is actually a negative $374,505.83. Have I lost everybody yet? I'm looking at the camera going, I'm wondering if they're following
We
this.
got it. We got you.
Okay. So this is a point where our Casella payment for the fourth quarter of calendar year 25 hasn't shown up yet. That came in January. And we've been spending and moving and transferring. Anyway, lots of action. And we look at the general fund and highway fund. If you total those two balances, it's negative. Okay. No need to panic. But the point is, if these were the only funds we had, if we only had a general fund and a highway fund and we didn't have any restricted funds with money in them, we would have been out of cash unless we went and got a loan on December 2025. So it just demonstrates that the balances we maintain in some of the other funds on occasion carry us over these stretches where we're waiting for the Casella payments to show up. Other than that, in December, I don't have any other additional points to make. So if there's no questions, I'll move on to January.
Well, the only comment that I would make to that, Dave, is one that you and I've discussed in the past. I don't think we've done that here in a meeting. And I think Melanie also, which is the reality of how typical towns manage through those issues, right? And there's pros and cons to all of that. And I know the history in Coventry has been that we are flush in cash and we have a lot of cash sitting around, but it's not invested cash either, typically, right? So you're sort of losing an opportunity for investable funds where, like other towns, if we wanted to go that way, we could be borrowing that money. Melanie would be able to speak about that a lot better than I. And I'm not saying that we should. I'm saying probably that's a discussion that the select board should be having in the next year with you, David, and Melanie on exactly how we want to manage the short-term funds. Melanie, have you got any input on that, or can you explain that better?
No, I think you're right. As you're considering using, particularly if you end up using the building fund, because that's holding quite a bit towards some of the highway garage, if it's if it moves forward, then you will end up with less cash, and a typical municipality would take out a tax anticipation note or revenue anticipation note at the beginning of the year, and then how you deal with that as far as investing those funds it is sorted out at that time based on the rates and what's out there for availability. But David's correct that if you didn't have this money, then you would have to be finding a way to deal with your cash flow.
Yeah. And so that's probably one of the first conversations for the new board, which is to get educated up on that and make that conscious decision on which way to go, because you can't put David in a position where he doesn't have the cash, and potentially, that anticipation note. I don't know. You're really only borrowing what you need, right, Melanie? You're not. You're getting approved up to a certain dollar figure, I would make an assumption on, and you're only paying on what it is that you actually move and borrow.
Yeah, if you take the line of credit approach, then that's true. Then the alternative is you figure out how much you qualify for based on a formula the banks usually use. But then there's an expectation, like David moves the money into the Fidelity account to make sure that it's getting the higher rate of interest, so that the net cost of that borrowing throughout the year is relatively low. But there's a couple different approaches.
Right. Yeah. So I think you should all be putting that right up on a high priority discussion list, coming into the spring, I would think. Maybe a work group, really flush it out with David and Melanie like I have before, and get up on all of that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Where was Dave?
Okay, I will, with that, move on to January. So
Dave, one question from Dan.
No, I was just saying, where was Dave at? That's all. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm still here, Dan.
Yep.
Live from the wonderful town of Derby. So, in January of 2026, the Casella payment for the last quarter of 25 showed up. So that was good news. We received a bunch of the reimbursement from the grants that Ed and then earlier Matt brought into town and spent and got expended and claimed. So that came in. So this month in January, when you look at those same two numbers I talked about last month, you can look at those and say, wow, we're back in the black, and convincingly so. When you look at the general fund and highway fund, when you combine the two and look at the total. The other thing of note in January was we finally got that truck, the long-awaited truck, delivered, and you'll see that it was partially paid for out of the Roads Capital Equipment Fund. That shows up on this report and bringing that fund total, reserve fund or restricted fund total, to zero. And other than that, I don't have any other particular points to make about January. So pending your questions, I hand it back.
Do you have any insights or comments for us, Dave, around the Fidelity investments? I see some good numbers, but everybody's getting good numbers right now. But have you good communication? Are things going well for you?
Well, I think the communication is fine. I have concerns, as we've discussed, about the way the stock investing is being accomplished, but I'm working to address that. Looking at the numbers per se, I guess another point I should make on the January report is I changed the investment reporting to be fiscal year Whereas if you look at previous reports like the December report, you'll see that it was a calendar year. I thought it was more appropriate to match everything on this report to the same yearly reporting basis. So now you'll see the investment opening values on the start of the fiscal year and then what's happened over the fiscal year.
Yeah.
Small change, I think, but
yeah.
Point that out.
Melanie, have you had any opportunity, or have we asked you yet for your sort of 2 cents on all of that? And if you've taken the opportunity to look at the work with the new investment firm, and if so, do you have any thoughts or opinions?
I haven't gotten any communication or been looped into any of the conversations about the investment company. I have been talking with both Ed and David about grants and spending. Deb also weighed in on some of that on the highway side. But what's your specific question about the investments piece?
No, I really didn't have one. It's been a big move for us, a big change. And it's probably our biggest issue. It's a quiet one, but it's going to drive our town funding in the future. So, however we decide as groups or a group to be, thinking through those moving parts is probably a little bit of a work in progress, but probably as important as anything, I think, for you guys to loop in Melanie and everybody and sit down and continue to, as we mentioned before, don't be afraid of change. If things aren't working out, then continue the review process. But, the more educated we can be on it, the more we can help others understand, and the more eyes are better, probably. So,
yeah, I was looking at the fixed income type securities that you have, just eyeballing them in case you needed to trade them out for internal borrowing and things like that. I did note, probably David hasn't mentioned this, but I did see the individual stock purchases, and I was going, oh, that's interesting choices. And so I don't know if maybe that's what David's picking up on with them, is their particular selection of the individual stocks. But we haven't had any conversation about that, but I'm happy to.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Dave. Melanie?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, guys.
All right, move on to fire district letter request. There's some notes there about the request. You already know the history, but 89 Main Street has been torn down. It's a green space forever, so it's so there's like a letter regarding that. And also right here, the parking lot, 150 what is it, Dan? Kimball
Main Street.
Main Street.
Yeah.
It says
Kimball resident.
Kimball residents. There's also like a letter regarding that place.
Deb, have you got anything to help us on?
As far as the understanding,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why do they want?
just like what anybody should have is documentation on their end that shows that that property has been one for 89 Main Street officially transferred over to the town, that the town has demolished that building, and that space is now a green space and cannot be assessed charges going forward. So we have that for our documentation because it is located within the fire district boundaries. As far as the 150 Main Street, the old Kimball property, basically it's the exact same thing. This should have been done back at the time when that property was purchased by the town and that house was torn down. Although 150 Main Street still has the potential that a new building can go up in that space. So it does not contain some of the same verbiage as what the 89 Main Street does. But it's basically documentation on our end. You folks have taken ownership of those two properties. And that's really it.
What did you say about 89 Main Street? I don't remember exactly what you said, but something about. It sounds like the town doesn't have to pay for the water now, the curb stop.
That is correct on 89 Main Street, because that is not a buildable lot. That is
Mm.
now considered a dead lot. No, the fire district is not going to be charging the town of Coventry for that lot. And partially, this letter is that notation to enact that piece to happen.
Okay, because I thought the town would keep paying. I thought that was the conversation from.
If it was still a buildable lot, absolutely.
Okay,
But because it's not a buildable lot, there shouldn't be any reason why the town should be paying.
So with the
All
one,
about your potential.
with the Kimball lot, Deb,
Yeah.
I can't remember this, but it seems like, are there different rates?
Yes.
And we're getting a reduced rate charge on that
Yep. You
Yeah.
are.
because we're not hooked in.
You're still hooked into the system, but because you don't have a house and you do not have a dwelling there that is using water itself, you're receiving a reduced rate.
Well, there's a curb stop there, but we're not hooked to anything. So
They're correct. Correct.
it's just a shut off that you can
Turn back on.
onto.
Would we ever want, do we have to have that forever?
You do.
Absolutely do.
Why don't we have to have it on on 89 Main Street?
Because that state has designated has a lot that you cannot build any dwelling whatsoever back on that green space. 150 Main Street, the town purchased that on their own wanting to, tore the house down so we could have additional parking. But in 10 years, the town could say, you know what? We're moving the town office. We're selling this building. We're selling that lot. Somebody's going to build a house on that lot. It's still a chargeable lot for future income for the fire district. 89 Main Street, the state has basically denied that has future income for the fire district.
I'm sure you know this, Stan, but the whole point was to mitigate flood risk. So like if somebody built there, we're all dead and gone, it still defeat the purpose of why they tore it down. I mean, I can't speak on the fire district.
I get that.
That's why you never could build there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about moving the town up. I just assumed we'd never want to build there. So why?
Yeah.
Why
You
would-
still have that. Yeah, you still have that capability. I know a prior select board member was thinking of possibly placing a water fountain on that land, which then, yes, you would be using water at that point. But yeah, no, 150 Main Street is still a buildable lot. Buildable lots are still assessed. It's still located within the fire district boundaries, but at a reduced rate, like what Scott alluded to.
All right, so we'll give you 2 separate letters. Deb, one for each lot.
Okay. Yep.
Because they're different and they're unique in that way, in those ways. So Ed, could you draft? And I can talk to you sometime and kind of, we can frame it up a little bit, and maybe for our next meeting, we can have it ready.
Mhm.
But I think we're all good with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah.
And I went there too a few years ago, and there are different municipalities that do it different ways. But the fire district in towns, their own municipality, and their rules here are exactly what Deb just said. So unless the town really wanted to get in the fray and have that battle, which we don't, you'd have to try to resolve that. So it's a reduced fee, and we thank you for that. It's not that much.
Yeah.
And it does serve some purpose, huh, Deb? It does help. It's a very small municipality, so
Absolutely.
it does help you cut a little bit of cost. So we'll draft up 2 different letters for next
Sure, I'll
meeting.
touch base with you.
Try to get those over.
All right,
All right.
all set?
Yep.
Thank you, Deb. Move on to other business. I just have a few here for you. The first one is for Vermont Emergency Management. I just wanted to update you. You signed it a while ago, but the local emergency management plan adoption, that's good. And now the actual document itself is good. And I'm sure Matt had all this in place, so there was no gap. I just wanted to update you that all the documentation that our coordinator for our area needs, he has. So that puts the ERAF at 12.5% for the town. I can explain it unless you want to give a more elegant explanation, Melanie, about ERAF or.
No, I did notice online that the plan was recently approved, so that gives you another year, I believe, before you have to revisit part of it. But the ERAF funding is just basically you go through all these motions to make sure that you have plans in place so that in the event of a disaster where there's FEMA funding, that the state has said you've done all that you could to mitigate this. And so we're going to go ahead and pay the town's portion on top. Normally FEMA disasters are 75%. And I think the 4720 that you guys encountered ended up getting ratcheted up to 90%. So you're only going to end up paying a couple percent on the Coventry Station project. But this is really important to making sure that in the event of a disaster that you're getting as much money as you possibly can in the form of grants versus having the town have to pay it.
Okay. Thank you. That was a lot better than I would have explained, but I just wanted to update you on it so that Matt had kept up on that and I am now. So you get the most, as Melanie said.
Yeah, it's a very
That's
critical
awesome.
piece of our work.
And you and I discussed this. There is an attachment piece for the town.
Yeah.
And I can forward that to Melanie sometime to look at, but that's something that you'll look at in the reorganization meeting.
Right.
So.
Yep.
I just wanted to let you guys know on that one.
Thank you.
And then the lift here, this lift has been tested for the year and inspected for the year.
Awesome.
I wasn't here the other day, Deb was, but the guy came by and I have paperwork that goes in there and the sign, so that's updated.
Good.
Oh. And then for 89 Main Street, the state has okayed the extra pay for Rainey for DeRoche's excavating, so.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Just wanted to let you know
Good.
that the extra, there's the invoice there, they're gonna pay the full that he requested, so.
Good.
Deb, if you weren't involved in that email, you'll get a copy of that.
Perfect. Thank you.
For the next warrant process.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all I had, unless, did you have anything for town meeting, Deb, for other business at all, or anybody else have anything?
I don't have anything for a town meeting, but just one quick thing for you, Ed, with the elevator. That does need to be reviewed every single year. So I don't know if you have a little tickler list that you're setting up of items to do, if you can place that on that list,
Yep.
that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, and I also have a sticker that goes in the elevator I got today, so.
Was that through BGS?
No, this was through Green Mountain Elevator, so whoever installed it, tested it, and then a company inspected it. I think it's Green Mountain.
Which is a state, yeah.
But it's a state inspector, as Deb said.
Okay, so buildings and general services are contracted with them for that?
Yeah, this company's contracted with them,
Yeah.
and I have state documentation that it's been inspected.
So I think they will normally schedule that with all their elevators. They have a master schedule, so you could just communicate, maybe follow up to see that that's still true, and then you don't have to try to remember it.
Right, yeah,
They schedule a year out.
I found some old emails where they were prompting him to do it, but
Yeah, so
both
they
ways I'll
know
remember and they'll prompt.
all the elevators in the state. They'll do it.
The only comment to that is this is the first time it's been done since it was installed. So
Okay,
I
sorry.
noted that it
Prompted.
should have been done years before. So that's why I'm just saying we may want to just do our own due diligence, because the state inspector did make that comment. That it was not inspected as of yet, and we did not have the state certification in that elevator. So I'm just thinking due diligence on our end, maybe for the next year or two. If it seems to be going routinely, fine, but if not, we should probably enact that.
All right, that's good info. Thank you, Deb.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thanks, Deb.
And for town meeting, I don't really have too much more to add. I did probably not acquire, ask. We do have a Coventry Junior ROTC who lives in town. And they are supposed to ask one of their friends to come and walk our flags down before town meeting starts. I think that will be very nice and patriotic during this time frame of where we are at. So that'll be something new this year. We're still working on what our meal is going to be for that day. Let me see. The justices on the peace and I did get together. We did get the school ballots completed, which I know has nothing to do with the town, but just so that you're aware, I'm sure you all have received your Australian ballot in the mail. I do have my election official sheet completed for who is working where, so I'll send that out to everyone so that they know. Other than that, I think that's it, and hopefully we'll see a lot of voters town meeting day.
It's a lot of work and we appreciate it, Deb. You always do a good job.
Thank you.
Yep.
Part of why I popped in was just to see if you needed any kind of quick write-ups or talking points on the reserve transfers, or if you needed anything from me before town meeting. I didn't know if you did a rehearsal meeting or any of that.
I'm gonna want to have that conversation on a few of those items, so that I'm more versed in a couple of them, and I'll probably make a time with you to call. I'm ill prepared for that tonight. I'd have to go home and rethink that and look at the items we have again, but and you guys certainly can do the same thing, you know, and so we don't have to do it in a meeting.
So if you guys come up with something and she does write something up, you could forward it around.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Maybe we could do that. Why don't we plan to touch base in the next few days, Melanie?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll send you a message, and we can talk through that and get a worksheet up.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
I was gonna email you and ask you the actual thing,
Yeah,
so
it's a
if I
good
can
one.
loop in on that too.
Yeah. Yep.
All
All right.
right, anything else, you guys?
Nope.
That's it.
All right, the minutes are there.
Good.
Very good one.
Just one this time.
Yep.
Motion to accept the select board meeting minutes for the town of Coventry, Monday, February 2nd, 2026 as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, there's no warrants there, but unless Deb has any comment on warrants.
Nope, Scott will be seeing probably February 23rd, which will be a good halfway point for this long duration to whenever the next select board meeting will be held.
Okay. Yeah.
So will this 89 Main Street extra be able to be in there, Deb, so I can get it wrapped up, or? Okay,
Absolutely.
appreciate that, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Mhm.